What's up, y'all, and welcome to another installment of the For the Gram podcast. This is a show where I, Jaksyn, your host, am going to talk about a thing of interest to me, whether that's something going on in the world or some kind of hip trend, things like that. But in the end, it's all going to be relevant enough for the gram. This week is the week of Halloween. All Hallows Eve, if you will, the night before All Saints Day, which is the 1st of November. But I thought it would be fun to kind of switch things up a little bit like I did a little while ago. And I'm going to go through a list here, and I'm going to rank every Halloween candy. This is not going to be every Halloween candy exactly, but it's a list that had the most Halloween candies on it, and I'm going to go through and I'm going to give my 2 cents about each one, because I thought that would be fun. So, oh my goodness, I'm in rhyme mode. This is not okay. Anyway, I'm going to go through a tier list here, kind of like what I did for Marvel movies a couple episodes back, and I'm just going to give my 2 cents on all these different Halloween candies. I am 20 years old. To say that I stopped trick-or-treating would be a lie, because since I got to college, I had an opportunity for the fall shows that I'm in to go trick-or-treating door-to-door and kind of ask people if they have any interest in going to see our shows that we put on in November. And so we go to door, and instead of trick-or-treating, we technically hand them little 3x5 note cards being like, hey, come see our show, which is kind of fun. But another thing with that is you publicly out yourself as a college student who still goes trick-or-treating. I still like to dress up for Halloween. I was Ted Lasso last year, and I wore my costume all day. I borrowed some spirit gum from my theater department, which, if you don't know what spirit gum is, it is a adhesive that you put on your lip to make fake facial hair stick. But I have real facial hair now, so this isn't really much of an issue. But at the time, I bought a fake mustache, and it was kind of sick, and it was on most of the day. It fell off at like noon, but then I had to re-glue it. But it was okay. I got it, and it stayed the vast majority of the day, and I got to be Ted Lasso for a day, which was super fun. Anyway, I'm going to go through, and I'm going to rate some Halloween candies. So I'm going to put the final tier list in a link in the show notes below. So if you're wanting to follow along, that's cool. I'm just going to run through the tiers really quick. So it's like a tier list style thing again. So instead of S tier, A tier, all that sort of stuff, I'm just going to name them all a thing. So number 1, the top tier is your diabetes-worthy candies. These candies, if you eat too many of them, you will probably get diabetes, because there's some crazy sugar content in some of these things. The second category I'm putting as trade bait. If you trick or treat and you don't trade candies with your siblings, okay, cool. But I always did. I was like, hey, so I'll trade you these 2 of this candy for this 1 of this other candy. And it was always 2 for 1. It was never, you could never really go 1 for 1, because candies have different monetary value, as we'll get into later. But below trade bait, I have your A- candies, which they're good, but they're not the best, you know what I mean? And then I have average candies, which are like middle of the road. They're like, okay, if I get this candy, I'm not going to be upset, but I'm not going to dig into my bag and be like, oh, I want this one. You know what I mean? And then I have bottom of the bag, which is the term I use for the candies that remain after like a week and you finish eating all of the candy except those ones. And you're like, well, I guess I have to eat something, so I'm going to eat those. And then lastly, I have straight into the trash, which is for garbage candies because that's where they belong, is in the trash. So without further ado, I think I'm going to get started here. The first candy on the list is the Hershey's Cookies and Cream candy bar. So these are in like little fun sizes. They're super cool. I'm going to put that one in trade bait. I like this candy. I respect it for what it is, which is a white chocolate Hershey bar with little Oreo crunches in it, which it is like something I'm a big fan of. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But it's not my first choice in candy ever. So I will use it for its high upside potential, and I will often use them to trade for something that I consider better. You know what I mean? So we have the Hershey's Cookies and Cream candy bar. That's going in trade bait. Next up, Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. You know what? I'm going to move this one to the last one. I don't want to touch this yet. We'll get there. After Reese's, we have Kit Kat. I'm putting that in trade bait as well. I think Kit Kats are good. It depends on which one you get, though. If you get the one with the little 2-wafer one, then it's like, okay, I can actually get something good for this. But if you get the little 1-wafer fun size one, those don't last very long. So I tend to think of Kit Kats less because of that. The best Kit Kat I ever had was an extra large Kit Kat, which was like the size of 3 Kit Kat bars in one. And it was my favorite thing, but it was gone in like 5 minutes, and then I hated everything else. So you can imagine the turmoil I go through whenever I get the little fun-sized Kit Kats that are just like the one singular wafer. Plus, those ones are just impossible to open sometimes. You can like go through like 4 of them, and then the 5th one, it's like you can never open it. So you're like, okay, now I have to stop. Maybe that's by design. I don't know. Next up, the 100 grand bar. That is diabetes worthy. I love 100 grand with a burning passion. It is caramel. It is chocolate. It is crispy stuff. Oh, it's so good. The 100 grand is probably one of my favorite candies if my favorite candy did not exist. It is definitely my favorite candy bar. I will reach in for a 100 grand 10 times out of 10, but the problem is they're so expensive and nobody ever buys them because like the only time you actually have the chance of getting a 100 grand is if they're in like a variety pack of candy that someone just dumps into a bowl. And you're like, okay, cool. No one, like, I'm probably one of the only people who goes out and, like, buys a $10 package of, like, 100 grand bars. And I think it's worth every penny. I love 100 grand. They're so good. This is probably, like I said, one of my favorite candies on here. And, yeah, so there's that. Reese's Pieces. Average. Yes, that is the correct pronunciation of this candy, is Reese's Pieces. If you say Reese's, just at least say Pieces, please. That is all I ask of you. And so there's that point to it as well. But Reese's Pieces, they're just peanut butter M&Ms without, like, the size of peanut butter M&Ms. You know what I mean? Like, they are the size of a normal M&M, but they just taste like peanut butter. Where's the variety? Like, they're yellow, orange, and brown. I get that's Reese's colors, but like, sweet tarts. I'm putting them in the bottom of the bag. I don't like my candy to be chalky. I don't like my candy to look like a pill. That is where my thought process are on a lot of these candies that are just like, I don't taste any flavor from them. But I'm just going to leave it at that. That's just my personal opinion, but you can do whatever you want. Three Musketeers, average. I used to love Three Musketeers. It's just nougat and chocolate, but I'm not really a fan of them anymore. I don't know what it is. It's just, they're kind of boring. I don't really know. It's just two ingredients. You don't get them very often. The little mini fun size ones that you get on Halloween, those are okay. I can tolerate those, but I don't know. They're not my favorite thing, but they're not my least favorite thing. So I'm just going to put them in the middle of the road. Up next, Pixie Sticks, bottom of the bag. Where is it? I saw Fun Dip on here. I'm putting that in there too. Just because I was never a Pixie Stick Fun Dip kind of person. I was never the person to just, like, when I'm eating candy, I want to at least be like I at least want to give myself the benefit of the doubt that I'm not eating complete garbage. But when you have Pixie Sticks and Fun Dips, it's just, you're eating sugar. And if I were to eat sugar, I would probably choose brown sugar over granulated sugar, just because it has like a stickiness to it. But just normal sugar that's colored, like, sure, it turns your mouth a fun shape and you get to eat the stick of the Fun Dip or whatever. But I was never the kind of guy to just eat straight up sugar. I would much rather it be disguised as like a candy or something like that. So then I don't have to feel bad about how much sugar I'm eating. You know what I mean? Next up is Airheads. I'm going to put them in A-. I think they're fine. I like the taffy consistency of them. They've grown on me, definitely. I used to hate Airheads. I thought the commercials were always super cool, but I used to never really like Airheads, but now I do. I've grown on them a little bit. It was the same with another candy, which I'll get to a little bit later, but Airheads are solid. I think they're slightly above average. They're smaller than what you would think with like the super long packaging of them. They're like really small and like stunty, but they're pretty good. They're pretty good. Next up, Bit of Honey, which I hate to say it, it's an old man candy. It is, but I'm putting it in average. I think they're pretty good. They're not my first grab, but like if they're there, I'll be like, oh, okay, I haven't had one of those in a while. I might as well just grab one, and then I grab like 4 more after that. I'm a big honey person, but then again, it's also like just straight up sugar, but I also like, it's disguised straight up sugar. It's not like Pixie Sticks where you're just downing sugar. I don't know. Bit of Honey. Yeah. It's definitely the candy that you would expect to see in a dish at your grandparents' house, but it's so worth it. I love it. Next is the Nestle Crunch Bar. Oh man. I don't know what to do with this one. It's average. Like if it was Hershey's Crackle, which is the Hershey's version of the Nestle Crunch Bar, I think it's average. I like Crackle slightly more just because you don't get a full bar of it. If it's a little fun size miniature thing, then I'm like, okay, this is good. But Crunch, I get it. It is just my favorite candy bar without the caramel. I do get that. But I much prefer the difference in flavors that 100 Grand offers as opposed to Crunch, which is just a chocolate bar with Rice Krispies in it. It's average. It's good. I will eat it if you give me one, but it's not like my first choice. You know what I mean? I would much rather reach in and grab something else than a Nestle Crunch bar. But that's just me. Necco wafers, straight into the trash. These things are garbage. I was watching a group of people play Trivial Pursuit, and one of the questions was, what was the first on the first expedition to Antarctica, the explorer brought with him this beloved candy? And I was like, it's Necco wafers, because Necco wafers are the saltine crackers of candy. They're plain, they're white, and they're tasteless. Like, it's bad. Necco wafers are literal chalk pucks that they're like Smarties for old people, is what I refer to Necco wafers as, but with like less flavor. Like, you think Smarties has like very little flavor to them? Necco wafers is worse by like 1,000,000%. If I ever got Necco wafers on Halloween, like, I would instantly in the garbage. I'm like, no thank you. I don't want to deal with this right now. And it's like, I think it's universally one of the most hated candies. I see one more on here that we might have to talk about in that regard, but I don't like Necco wafers at all. That's not a good candy in the slightest. Sour Patch Kids, average. I've never been too big on Sour Patch Kids. I've never been too big on sour candies. I'm a big sweet kind of a guy, as opposed to, I like salty things too. Sour Patch Kids never really resonated with me. Like, I'll eat them. Like, if you give me a handful of Sour Patch Kids, I'm good for like 4 or 5 of them, but I'm never eating more than 5 Sour Patch Kids, because they're just not my type of a thing. That's just me though. Next is Nerds, the bottom of the bag. I was never a Nerds person. Same with like Pop Rocks and stuff. I was never like a granular candy kind of a person, which is really ironic because Rice Krispies in candy is kind of granular, but they're coated in chocolate, so it's a different thing. Nerds are good. I just never really ate them outside of Halloween when you get like the little boxes of them. Good and Plenty. Oh, bottom of the bag. I don't eat them very much. It's black licorice flavored candy, which, if black licorice is already an acquired taste, either you like it and you really like it and it's a character trait of yours, or you hate it. And 90% of people hate it just because it's like repulsive. It's bad. But Good and Plenty, like, I don't eat them often because they come in like this big box, like this big dollar box every single time. And so you have to eat a lot of them. You have to commit to it if you want to eat them. But it's like, I don't mind them, but I will not eat them as the first thing ever. Twizzlers, A-. I grew up in a Twizzlers household. I much prefer the bites as opposed to the actual like licorice wands themselves. My favorite Twizzlers is the Hershey's chocolate Twizzlers. Those ones are fun. I like strawberry Twizzlers as opposed to cherry, but that is probably just a me thing. If they made watermelon Twizzlers, I would totally eat them. But I grew up in a licorice household for red licorice, not to be confused with Good and Plenty, which is black licorice. Dots. They're average. They're just gumdrops. Like, I think Shrek glorified gumdrops to extent, but I can talk about that in another podcast because there are a lot of cartoons and media things that glorify things that should not be. Yeah, dots are just gumdrops. They're fine. They stick in your mouth a lot, but they're a good popcorn candy. If you want to have like a fruity thing in with your popcorn, you can put dots in your popcorn. But I'm not going out of my way to eat dots. They come in little boxes and they all like mold together if you don't store them correctly, but it's fine. They're fine. M&Ms. Diabetes worthy. M&Ms are my favorite candy ever. They are so good. I eat them by the handful almost always. I was one of those people who separated them by color in the little fun size packs. I always ate the blue ones first. I never knew any correlation to that. I just ate the blue ones first because they looked the coolest. M&Ms were a big part of my childhood. I love M&Ms. Next up is gum. I'm adding a new tier to this before I get too far into anything. This is an interesting dilemma, right? Because gum, in my mind at least, is not a Halloween candy. So I'm going to create a new tier on my tier list called Not a Halloween Candy. And I think gum goes right in there. It's not a Halloween candy. If you give me gum on Halloween, I'm like, okay, buddy, this is fine, but I'm not gonna like it. You know what I mean? Next, Andes Mints, bottom of the bag. It's chocolate, it's mint. They're not gonna be eaten at all in my thing. I'm not gonna throw them away because I know other people like them. If I need like a little breath freshener later, I'll just pop in like an Andes Mint or something. Andes Mints are good in ice cream. If you like mint chocolate chip ice cream, put Andes Mints in your ice cream. It's really good. But yeah, Andes Mints, they're so small, like they're a little inconvenient to eat too. So put them in the bottom of the bag. Runts. Is this a Wonka candy? It might be a Wonka candy, which is interesting because that's fictional. But Runts, to me, were always a gumball machine candy. Like, you go to the mall and you have, like, the row of gumball machines, and Runts were the fruit-shaped ones in those, if you know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to put it in the not a Halloween candy category just because I never got them on Halloween. I was just like, oh, I have some spare quarters. I'm going to go to the mall and get some Runts. You know what I mean? Moving on, Laffy Taffy. Trade bait. It's a big trade thing, is Laffy Taffy. Banana is my favorite. If not, caramel apple is my favorite. There were those that you got every now and again. But banana is my favorite because I grew up in a household with 4 other siblings, and banana was all of their least favorites. So I got to eat all the banana Laffy Taffies, and they're so good. And then they also have jokes on them, which are really, really bad, but it's the fun of it. It's a paradigm. They're the go-to parade candy, as opposed to some of the other ones. There's another candy on here later that I'll get to in a second, but I like Laffy Taffy. Those are the ones, like, I would trade all of my other flavors for solely the banana Laffy Taffies, and I think that's totally worth it. Next up, Werther's Original. I think these are like the actual like soft caramels, and the hard caramels are on here too, so I'm going to put those in the same category. I'm going to put them both in bottom of the bag. I don't eat them on Halloween. I'm never really like, I do like caramels, like having caramels to just like put in my mouth and like taste over a variety of time, but I don't like swallowing hard candies. And that is a big deal breaker with Werther's Originals because they're just in your mouth all the time. And it's a problem that I've had with like jawbreakers and things like that, is I don't like to break them in my mouth, but I also don't like to swallow them because they're sharp and it's not good. Like, I've had my throat cut from little sharp candies like that after a while. Next up is these little taffy things. Straight into the trash. I don't like them. There's one that has a little orange or black wrapper around it, and they're supposed to taste like peanut butter, but they don't. They don't taste like peanut butter. They just taste like taffy. And, like, unflavored taffy is the worst, in my opinion. That's why Laffy Taffies are good, because they're all flavored, and it's great. Next up, Hershey's Kisses. Not a Halloween candy. In my mind, Hershey's Kisses are Christmas. I like a Hershey's Kiss, but not on Halloween. If you give me a Hershey's Kiss on Halloween, I will probably throw it back at you. I'm like, wrong holiday. You skipped 2. Give me something else, thank you. And then they'll slam the door in my face, and then I'll walk away. And I'll probably never see them again, because that's what happens on Halloween sometimes, is you just never see the people in your neighborhood after the fact. But yeah, Hershey's Kisses, not a Halloween candy. I think they're a Christmas candy more so. Hershey's, like the bar, average. It's an average candy bar. It's just chocolate. It doesn't taste anything special, but you know, it's fine. It's there. Mike and Ike's. I used to love Mike and Ike's, but I'm going to put them in average. I think they're fine. I'm good for it. It's like Sour Patch Kids. I'm good for a couple, but after that point, I'm not much of a fan anymore. Like, I just get bored. I'm not a fan of fruity candies and things like that. Next up, Snickers. A-, but slightly overrated. Snickers is like that base candy bar. I love me a Snickers ice cream bar, which is just peanuts, caramel, nougat, and ice cream. But I am not a fan of like Snickers normally, just because they're so overhyped. Like, everybody's like, oh my gosh, you got a Snickers? I'll take that. It's so good. And I'm like, okay, buddy, I am fine with that. But like, Snickers, they're good. There's nothing exponential about a Snickers bar. You're like, oh, I got a Snickers. That's cool. They make some cool commercials too and stuff like that. But anyway, Almond Joys, trade bait. I love Almond Joys. If you're in an Almond Joy camp, it's either you love them or you hate them. It's like when I was talking about Necco wafers. I think Almond Joys are one of the most universally hated candies, and I don't know why. Is it because there's coconut in it? Is that why? Like, coconut and chocolate go really, really well together, and like the almond in there just adds a different sweetness. What I have a problem with about the Almond Joy debate is you mention Almond Joys and how bad they are. You don't mention Mounds, which is also chocolate and coconut, but infinitely worse than an Almond Joy, because the almond helps it. Like, the almond helps it taste better. Mounds is just dark chocolate and coconut, and it's not good. It's very bad. But I could rant about how much I love Almond Joys for a while, so I'm just going to keep moving forward here. Baby Ruth. Is it a Three Musketeers? Is that the one that's the Three Musketeers with peanuts in it? I think it is. Either that or it's like Nestle's Snickers. Average. I don't love these. I don't hate them either, though. If I get one, I'll be like, oh, cool. I haven't seen one of those in a while, and I'll eat it. But I'm not like, give me a Baby Ruth when you walk into like a gas station or something, and you're like, you get one candy bar, and I'm like, okay, I don't want that one. Okay, next up, caramel apple pops. They're average. The caramel is the best part of them, I think, which is weird because I have the caramels in the bottom of the bag one. But, like, I'm not, like, a big lollipop guy, but, like, the nostalgia factor for me is what's carrying them up. Next up, Charleston Chews. This is a really underrated candy. I'm going to put it in A-. I like Charleston Chews. And, like, the way you got to eat them, if you've never eaten a Charleston Chew before, is you take one and you put it in the freezer, and then you let it thaw out just a little bit before you eat it. That's probably the best way to eat a Charleston Chew, is you eat them cold. And, like, now they have chocolate and strawberry ones, too, which those are also really, really good. So if you haven't had a Charleston Chew before, I highly recommend it. It's like a severely underrated candy. Like, my sister loves these things. And I, by association, also love these things. Because, like, you don't get them often unless you seek them out. Or you get one on the off chance on Halloween. But they're really, really good. I highly recommend it if you haven't had one before. Next up, Mr. Goodbar. A-. I like Mr. Goodbar. It's a Hershey chocolate bar with peanuts in it. And it's really, really good. Like I was saying with the Hershey's bar earlier, it's like, it's just chocolate. But the Mr. Goodbar adds a little bit of an element to it with the peanuts in it. If you're allergic to peanuts, do not eat a Mr. Goodbar, please and thank you. Next up, Double Bubble? Hubba Bubba? What is this one? I don't even know. It's not a Halloween candy. It's a gum. It's the one with the yellow wrapper with the blue ties on the end of it. And it's a good parade candy. It's not a Halloween candy. It's a gum. I used to get buckets of this. We have a bucket of it in my house. There's no gum in it anymore, but the bucket's still there, which is cool. Swedish Fish. I'm going to put it in an A-. Swedish Fish have grown on me, much like Airheads. It's like Sour Patch Kids again. Like, I could eat, like, the little fun-sized pouches of them, but if you give me, like, a bag larger than that, I'm probably not going to eat enough of them. I tried a blue raspberry lemonade Swedish Fish, so it was, like, blue raspberry and lemon, which, if you didn't know, blue raspberry is a completely artificial flavor. There's no such thing as a blue raspberry, but I probably just ruined the childhoods of about 10 people listening to this right now, but it is a good flavor combination, blue raspberry and lemon. And so those were really good. The best way to eat Swedish Fish, much like Charleston Chews, cold. Eat them cold, and they'll, like, taste a little bit better than if you eat them at room temperature. Blow Pops, bottom of the bag. It's a sucker with gum in the middle. That's pretty much all I need to say about that. Fireball, straight into the trash. Cinnamon is not my friend. I'm not a big fan of spice. And so, therefore, cinnamon is not really the thing that I go for. I see hot tamales, so I'm going to put those in there as well, just because I could actually, my parents like hot tamales, so I could, in theory, give some of them to them if I ever get them, but they're not my favorite thing. I'm not like a cinnamon candy kind of a guy, and I think it shows in this list especially, the higher ups are definitely chocolate. I have more fruity stuff up top than I thought I was going to. Speaking of which, we have Fruit Chews, which these are the fruit versions of Tootsie Rolls. Trade bait. These are crazy good. The vanilla one is probably my favorite. If not, it's the orange one. But like, these are really, really good. These are, like I said, parade candies. But like, you get them on Halloween because you can buy them in like big bags at like hardware stores and things, and they're super good. They're super, super good. Tootsie Pops. I'm putting it at average solely because of the commercial. You know, the one with like, Mr. Owl, how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? And then he counts to 3 and then like crunches it and just eats it all. And then it ends with, how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? The world may never know. And then like, it's 20 seconds. It's so good. I laugh at it every single time because I love that commercial. It always played during Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown, and that was like one of the only times I would see it throughout the year. And I love the Peanut specials too. Like, I have all of them on DVD, so like, it's super cool when like, because when Peanuts was bought out by Apple, so now they're only on Apple TV Plus. I bought them on DVD. But anyway, the commercial is what's bumping it up. Normally it would be bottom of the bag because it's a sucker with a Tootsie Roll in the middle of it. But the commercial really bumps it up. Roll-ups, fruit roll-ups, not a Halloween candy. Same with Gushers, not a Halloween candy. If you're giving kids fruit roll-ups and Gushers on Halloween, first of all, you got to be like really rich, because Gushers come in like packs of 10, and they're like $4 for packs of 10. So it's like, if you're giving out candy to all these different kids that normally get like 2 or 3 things of candy, like, you're just buying boxes and boxes of Gushers. And I'm like, okay, let's maybe not do that. I also was never really a fan of Gushers, like the fruit spewing out of the little fruit snacks. I like fruit snacks, but I don't like Gushers. Haribo gummy bears. If it's like the little packs with like 6 of them in it, I'm not a fan. I'm just going to say that right now. I'm going to put it in average. I think they're fine. Gummy bears are fine, but I'm not going out of my way to eat 6 gummy bears. Like, they're over in like 3 seconds. Their flavor is gone. When I was a wee lad, I put gummy bears in my Cold Stone ice cream. That's a big mistake, because gummies freeze in ice cream, so they get really, really hard. If you've seen the trend of people putting ice cream in fruit roll-ups, it's the same concept. They get really crunchy, and it's not as appetizing as you would think. I gotta move on a little bit here because I got 2 rows of candies left. Heath. I have a love-hate relationship with Heath. I like it. It's not my favorite, but I like it. I'm gonna put it in A-. I think it's good. It gets stuck in my teeth a lot, but it's totally worth it in my opinion, at least. Heath is just English toffee coated in chocolate. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Butterfinger, average. I'm not a fan of Butterfinger. The wafers, the peanut butter wafers, are not my cup of tea necessarily. Yeah, it's interesting. Lemon heads, bottom of the bag. These are terrible. They're super, super sour because they're designed to be so. And yeah, I'm not a fan of lemon heads. Tootsie Rolls, average. It's chocolate taffy. That's what it is. If it was like the one that is like the little log that that you can get. I like those ones, but like the tiny little runty ones, I'm not much of a fan of in terms of Tootsie Rolls. They're fine. I'll eat them, but I'm not reaching into my bag being like, give me a Tootsie Roll. I'd much rather have the Fruit Chew or Fruities, if you've ever had Fruities, which are just tiny little fruit Tootsie Rolls, but they're not on here. Jolly Ranchers. Trade bait. I've grown on Jolly Ranchers. I used to not like them just because I've cut my throat with a Jolly Rancher before. The blue raspberry, again, not a real flavor. Engineered. Sorry. Green apple was my favorite. I liked the green apple ones, despite the fact that sour things are not my favorite. The watermelon ones were also not bad. If you give me a watermelon Jolly Rancher, that was cool. Plus, also, you didn't have to explain why your tongue was a different color, because the watermelon ones were the same color as your tongue. Junior Mints, straight into the trash. Same with York and Zero Bars. Chocolate and mint, not good. Not a good combination. Not a fan. If I wanted mint, I would brush my teeth, and yeah, it's not my favorite combination in the slightest, but it's okay. Ring Pops, average. They're fun. You can put them on your finger and like eat them that way. I know one of my friends genuinely would like to be proposed to with a ring pop, and I'm like, okay, like maybe get her an actual ring though, because that's not cool. It's gonna be so sticky after a while, and you're not gonna be happy with it, but it's okay. Payday, trade bait. I love Payday. It's peanuts and caramel wrapped around a little thing of vanilla nougat, I think. It's so good. I love them. They're also a very underrated candy, like the Charleston Chew. You don't hear a lot of people being like, oh, I'm going to go out and buy a Payday, unless you're my dad. Dad, if you're listening to this, Paydays are great. You buy as many of them as you want. I don't care. Toblerone. Toblerone is also a very underrated candy. If you've never had a Toblerone, I highly recommend it. It's the one that's in like the long bar with like the little triangles, and it's like chocolate and honey and stuff. It's really, really good. They're expensive though. So if you're giving out Toblerones on Halloween, first off, let me know, please, because I want one. I've only ever had like 2 of them before, but they're really, really good. A- for the Toblerone. Peanut M&Ms. This is my number 1 above normal M&Ms. Like, I love peanut M&Ms. They're my go-to. Popcorn candy is peanut. My go-to popcorn candy is peanut M&Ms. They're bigger, so you get less of them in like the little packs and stuff. So you got to buy like the big sharing sizes of like peanut M&Ms, but they're so worth it. They're so good. If you've never had peanut M&Ms, what are you doing with your life? These are fantastic. Mambas, bottom of the bag. It's like Fruit Chews. Difficult to open. Not a fan. Milk Duds, trade bait. This is glue for your mouth. If you want to stop yourself from talking for a day, eat a big old handful of Milk Duds, and then the caramel will like seal your teeth together. But they're really, really good. Also a phenomenal popcorn candy if you have Milk Duds lying around. Like, just eat them with some popcorn. They're worth it. Milky Way, A-. They're my go-to s'more candy. I don't really eat them for Halloween. I much rather prefer them with marshmallow and graham cracker and stuff. But they're fine. They're fine by themselves. I eat them in ice cream too. Milky Way, caramel. You can't really combat that, I guess. I like the Midnight Milky Ways, which are dark chocolate, but that's not on this list, so we won't talk about that much anymore. Now and Laters. Bottom of the bag. again, they're like Starbursts, but not as good. I don't know. Apples, not a Halloween candy. If you give people apples on Halloween and they didn't just get freshly picked off a tree in your backyard, what are you doing? Like, honestly, if you're giving kids apples, let the kids have candy, please. That's one of my biggest things about Halloween is kids go out of their way to get these cool costumes that represent something about their personality, and they have the courage of walking up to your door and you repay them by giving them an apple. Let them have candy. Screw nature's sugar. This is a one night a year where they can like actually enjoy some of that sort of stuff. So yeah, there's that. Raisinets. These are going in diabetes worthy as well. I love Raisinets. They're chocolate covered raisins and they don't even taste like raisins. That's how good they are. I've probably eaten way too many of these in my life. For one of my birthdays, one of my family members got me like 4 boxes of these and they were gone the next day. Like, I love Raisinets. It's one of the ways that I can eat candy without feeling too bad about it because they're raisins, and raisins are somewhat healthy. Are they doused in chocolate? Yes, but they're still super, super good. Toothbrushes, not a Halloween candy. If you give people toothbrushes on Halloween, stop and look at yourself in the mirror, please. I get it. Let the kids have some fun, though. If you're not a dentist and it's not a funny bit, like, don't give people toothbrushes on Halloween. Like, I stand by that. Skittles, average. I don't like Skittles. I'm an M&M's guy. They have Skittles Littles now, which is like mini M&M's, but like mini Skittles. Those are good. I'm fine with those. But Skittles together taste like mush. Like, that's a big thing with me is that, like, fruity candies, when you eat them together, they taste like mush. And, yeah, this is not a fan, but they're there. They exist. Smarties, bottom of the bag, taste like chalk. Necco wafers for kids. Yeah. Need I say more? No. Starbursts, trade bait. I love Starbursts. The pink one is objectively the best. I like the yellow ones because those were always the last ones to get eaten in my house, and they're lemon flavored, so they're not bad. But I ate a lot of yellow Starbursts and was often ridiculed for it because they're like, "Oh, that's not a good one." And I'm like, preferably, I like the pink one, but I never get to eat the pink one because the pink one is always gone first. So there's that. A sugar daddy? I haven't seen one of these in a long time. Bottom of the bag. You don't see them as often anymore. Candy corn. A-. I like candy corn. What you want to do is you want to get a thing of cashews and you want to mix candy corn in with that. And that is the best way to eat candy corn, is with cashews. So if you don't like candy corn, maybe try them with something else and they might taste better. It's just sugar, like, again, but it's disguised. And if you didn't do the bit where you pulled the candy corn out of your mouth, pretended like you lost a tooth, did you have a childhood? Like, I don't know. Like, it's just a monumental bit that I feel like everybody did that I knew. And so, yeah. Candy corn. I like them a lot more than other people do. So I might get massacred for that, but it's okay. It's my list. Twix. Trade bait. Depends on which Twix you have. Let me know if you're right Twix or left Twix kind of a person. I think I can already tell with most people. So it might confirm some of the things that I already believe about people that I know. So, yeah, Twixes. Caramel, cookies, chocolate. The day they came out with the white chocolate Twix is one of the happiest days of my life because I had just been talking with people like a couple months before that about how cool it would be if Twix made a white chocolate version, and they did. And so it was pretty good. White chocolate and caramel. Who would have thought? I don't know. Sour lemon heads. I'm putting with the other lemon heads. Whoppers. A-. Whoppers are a very underrated candy as well. It's malted milk powder in a ball of chocolate. Like, I'm good for like the 3, but after that point, it's kind of hard to eat them. Malted milk powder is so interesting in terms of taste because it does taste a little chalky, but it's pretty good. I think Whoppers are good. And lastly, Reese's. I put them last because I didn't want to make it seem crazy that I threw one of the first candies in diabetes worthy. I think I have a really solid top 5 in my candies here with the 100 grand, the Reese's, both of the main M&Ms, and then Raisinets. That definitely rounds me off as a person. I think those are the candies that I've resonated with the most in my life. So, yeah, there you have it. I don't think I really need to explain putting Reese's in diabetes worthy. If it's the eggs that they have over like Easter and stuff, they're in a league of their own. They're so good. One of my sisters gets mad at me because I eat the Reese's eggs in one bite, and she's like, they're not supposed to be bite-sized. And I'm like, yes, they are. And so I make her watch every single time as I eat them with my whole mouth and just chomp on it. And it's just one bite in, and there you go. Reese's cups are pretty good. They're up, definitely worthy of being one of the best candies, and I think they are. Unironically, out of all of the chocolates, I think the healthiest candy is peanut M&Ms. Out of all the chocolate candies, at least, I think peanut M&Ms is one of the healthier ones, just because it's a little sliver of chocolate, and the peanut complements the chocolate in such a way. But anyway, that's going to do it for this week's installment of the For the Gram podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed this slightly different format of what I normally do, but I'm going to be back on in a couple weeks here with some special things that I got planned here. Let me know what your favorite Halloween candy is. But with that all being said, if you have any feedback for me whatsoever, you can DM my Instagram at forthegrahampod, all lowercases, no spaces, or you can send me an email at forthegrahampod@gmail.com. But that's going to do it for this week's episode. Thank you all for listening, and I will see you in the next one.